just one thing I want to edit, and that was because I don't actually like the text color. I prefer it to be black, because then I felt like I could actually see it. Oh no, okay, never mind, cool. Okay, cool. That should all be good. That should all be good. Boom. Let's go. Boom. Let's go. Just give the stream a little time to boot up. That should all be good. That should all be good. I'd like to think that is all good. That should all be good. I'd like to think so. Well, that's not good. Sound of the chair is not good though. I'll just give it a few more minutes, and then we'll get into previewing obviously Manchester City versus Leeds, which is going to be on Saturday at 3 p.m. at the Etihad. Obviously City sitting in third now, 7 points off of top, which is not ideal. It's not ideal whatsoever. But you know, it's just one of those things you got to deal with. Yeah. Boom, boom, boom. I think I've shared that everywhere I need to share it. I think, anyway. Yeah, that should all be good. Right. So, right, as you can see, this is the Premier League table, right? I'm actually going to move this while I talk, just so it's not in the way. I'll just move that there. Right. So obviously this is the Premier League table we're looking at right now. I think we can all see that with our own eyes, right? Obviously again, Arsenal top, 29 points. Oops, I didn't mean to do that. Yeah, Arsenal top, 29 points. Chelsea in second with 23, and City obviously in third with 22. Just 1 point obviously behind Chelsea, 1 point above Villa. 12 games played, just like everybody else in the league, right? There's no games in hand at the moment, right? Obviously, we'll be taking on Leeds at home. With them sitting in 18th, they've got 3 wins, 11 points. You know, they're a point above Burnley, and they're 9 points above above Wolves. Obviously, we beat both of these two teams comfortably. Um, but Leeds can be difficult. It could definitely be difficult, especially given the form that we're in. Because I wouldn't say Leeds aren't great, but I wouldn't say they're as bad as Wolves, for example. Right? I think Wolves are absolutely horrendous. Let me actually just sort this out 2 seconds. Because that's 2 seconds. Right, let's shut that down. Right, sorry, my bad, got distracted. But yeah, Leeds aren't as bad as Wolves. They're not great, but they could definitely cause us issues, especially when we like to get into a sort of mentality and sort of mindset of just creating issues for ourselves. Like if we look at the game on Tuesday, right? We lost. We were terrible. We created a lot of the issues ourselves, and there's a lot of complacency in the team at the moment with certain players, especially against Newcastle. A lot of the starters, a lot of the people that you'd look to for inspiration and guidance were not at their best. They were not good at all. So they were dropped, right? And like I said in the watch along, they were rightfully dropped. But the players that he brought in for them, and the players that didn't need to be dropped, i.e., I look at Donnarumma. I'd probably say O'Reilly didn't need to be dropped either. Foden and Bernardo both deserve to be dropped, but I would have kept Bernardo in the team just for someone that's got like at least one creative bone, in that midfield. There were players in that team on Tuesday that had no right really playing. I look at Lewis in midfield. I look at probably Stones and Ake playing together. I look at Trafford. Again, I look at Lewis partnering Vinders in the midfield. Like there was no clear plan of how we were going to play when we looked at the lineup, which was a huge issue, right? And obviously, I do expect Pep to go back to a sort of more conventional and normal team for Manchester City standards, right? Very similar to the one we saw against Newcastle, but not the exact same. So if we were to go to the lineup builder now, right, and we'll just click Man City and we'll look at this team. This is a very sort of standard team that you'd expect City to put out. And, this is very similar to what I'd put out. I think the defence, if I'm being honest, can I just clear, I've just messed it up. I'm just going to clear it again, right? So, actually, no. We'll start how I had it started up, right? So, again, the defense. We'll focus on the defense first, and the only change I'm making is obviously taking out Matheus Nunes for Kusanov, just because I don't think Nunes has been bad. I think Nunes has been quite good. I thought he was a bit off of it when it came to playing against Newcastle, and I thought he could have done a lot better in that game, going forward and defensively. But I think when we've got Kusanov fit, we're off of the back of a loss in the league. We're now off of the back of a loss in the Champions League, where I don't actually think Kusanov played that bad against Leverkusen. Obviously, some people might have a different opinion, but I think the main issues in defence were Ake, Trafford, and Nouri. So, I'm happy to see a back line of O'Reilly, Vardiol, Diaz, and Kusanov, right? Maybe you could take either one of Guardiola and Diaz out for Kusanov and keep Nunes at right back if you really wanted. But if I'm going off of what I want to see here, is probably this back four, and obviously Donnarumma in goal. I don't want to see Trafford play. I haven't been impressed with his performance against Spurs, his performance against Leverkusen. I think, he did concede against Swansea, but it was a fantastic goal. You weren't gonna save that. And I think, out of the four main performances I've seen him pull out, obviously being Wolves, Spurs, Brighton, and Leverkusen, I think he was okay in Brighton and Wolves, and he was not good against Spurs and Leverkusen. So I think we just need Donnarumma in goal. I think the only issue Donnarumma really has is he doesn't like the physicality of corners. He struggles with the physicality of corners. In the Premier League, you see him complaining a lot about pushes and barges. You know, you think back to Tyler Adams' goal that we conceded against Bournemouth. You know, he was claiming he was fouled. He wasn't fouled. There was contact on him, but the contact ended pretty quickly. And I can't actually remember who it was that had his arm round him. I want to say it was Brooks. Brooks has his arm round Donnarumma, and he sort of locked his arm into place, a bit like an anchor, right? But if he was really holding him that tight, Donnarumma wouldn't have been able to jump and get up in the air and make the initial contact with the ball that he does. Donnarumma didn't make strong enough contact with the ball, and then he claimed foul to sort of try to make up for his error. A bit like you see with Gabriel Arsenal against Sunderland, for Sunderland's equaliser. Gabriel knew that he messed up, so he just tried to plead to get the foul to try cover up his mistake, and that's a bit what Donnarumma did at Bournemouth. So I think that's kind of the main issue to Donnarumma's game is from corners. He doesn't really like the physical aspect of corners in the Premier League, but hopefully it's something that he can adjust to. Again, I think O'Reilly, like I said, on Tuesday, in my watch along and sort of in my 5 things we learned video, I just think he's as good going forward as Aït-Nouri. Aït-Nouri might just be a bit better going forward, but O'Reilly's physicality and willingness and determination to defend and not jogging back like Aït-Nouri was doing against Leverkusen and what led to Grimaldo's opening goal, Aït-Nouri just jogging back and leaving the wing wide open. We need to have O'Reilly back in the team, because you can't have players jogging back, especially a defensive player, right? And then you move into the midfield. Again, I've got no complaints with Nico playing in the midfield, right? No complaints. I mean, if there's a fully fit Rodri there to be played, I'm all for Rodri playing, but at the same time, if he's not fully fit, Nico can play nonetheless. He's an incredible football player. And he was the only constant between the 2 losses, but I don't think he really played that bad of a part in either game. You know, I'm obviously open to somebody correcting me on that and telling me that they think that Nico wasn't great in either of those games. But I think, for me personally, he's been a constant performer for us this season. And he just plays at a consistent level, and sometimes he is let down by the people around him. So again, I'm happy for him to play. Now we move forward, right? We move forward. And I think, where's Kovacic? Brandon, where's Kovacic is the question you're asking me right now. Where's Kovacic? Kovacic is in the medical room, right? Because Kovacic is injured until March. Now, if Kovacic was not injured until March, would I be happy for him to be in this team in any way, shape or form? No, I wouldn't. Because Kovacic is not a good footballer. And I'll happily debate anybody on that, right? Joe, I love you. You're probably not watching. I think you're at work right now. But you told me, obviously big Chelsea fan, you told me that Kovacic was the best thing since sliced bread. And unfortunately, I believed you. And then I had to witness Kovacic playing in sky blue for my team. And I realised you sold me a dream. You're a used car salesman, bro. You scammed me, and I'll never forgive you for that. So that's your answer as to where's Kovacic. Kovacic is getting nowhere near this team, and that's not even just because he's injured. It's because he's terrible and injured. So it's a really bad combination. But as I was saying, with the front 3, I think Haaland and Doku are a mainstay. I think you look at Haaland and the way he plays. Compared to how Marmoush was playing at the 9, and obviously the form he's been in, obviously not in the last 2 games, but before that, Haaland's basically undroppable. Doku, our most creative player, our best player going forward. I think a lot of things just run through him. You know, I look at when he came on the pitch against Leverkusen, and we suddenly started creating chances, and that's not a coincidence. Doku's very direct, and he likes to try and make things happen. And yes, they might not always come off. and he might not always make the right decision, but he tries to make things happen, and that's definitely something that we need in our team at the moment. And yeah, Brandon, I'd agree. He's great at avoiding red cards. That game you're referring to, in particular, the Arsenal game. Yeah, he should have been. He should have been sent off. We probably would have played better with 10 men, I think, than him staying on the pitch. So then we move across Foden and Silva. The thing is, I don't want to say Foden should start because I don't think he was good against Newcastle, but at the same time, I thought Weinders was appalling against Leverkusen. So I think, unfortunately, I do stay with Silva. Obviously, him being the captain, and Foden in there. But I think maybe if I was doing something a little bit different, I would probably do that. Maybe if I could, if both were available to us, I would probably do something a bit more kind of like that, I think, is what I'd do. Obviously, that's not all lined up because so just ignore that they're not all in the correct positions, but I'll probably do something like that. And then Shirky, the thing is, right, you can't play Savinho because Savinho is absolutely dross. But I've got a feeling this Leeds game is going to be quite physical. It's going to be quite demanding physically, and I just don't think Shirky will be up to the task. So I would probably actually say that if I'm... Would you think Shirky would be better through the middle to get more of his creativity? No. And the only reason is I just don't think he'd be able to hack the physicality of the game that we're going to be going into, right? Because if I just get this up quickly and I look at... Oh, if I could spell. Let me just get it up quickly. Google's just wanting to take its sweet time. Yeah, cool. Never mind, I can't even get it up because Google's crashed. I was going to look at the Leeds lineup from their last game, but the Google's completely crashed, right? But I know it's not going to be an easy game, right? You when you're playing against any team that's newly promoted, they play with a lot more sort of physicality rather than technical ability, because they're usually a lesser team, especially when you come up against a big team like this. Big team in quotations with our form right now. But you look at like players like Shirky, whereas I think he's excellent and I think he's very good on the ball and I think he's very good creatively, I just think he would struggle in a game like this with the physical side. Kind of what you see with Wirtz when he plays in a lot of the Premier League games and he's in that middle and he's in the middle of the park. He's just getting sort of shrugged off the ball very easily and you know, he's really not up to speed with it physically. So, you know, I wouldn't play him in the middle. I'd probably say, yeah, he would have to come on as a sub. I think. But even if he doesn't, actually, so even if I don't say give Marmoush some left wing minutes, because I think Marmoush needs some minutes on the left, because obviously his last two games have been in the 9 position and he's not going to get minutes in the 9 unless Haaland's injured. So the best way to judge whether Marmoush is going to fit into this team long term is by seeing him off of the left, right? Which would mean we couldn't play Doku, and I think Doku's our best player. So I think you either play Doku on the right, Marmoush on the left, or you do play where is he? Oh, I'm just gonna type his name in. Or you're gonna have to play Doku on the left and Shirky on the right. But I just don't know how I think Shirky would fare in this game. So I'm very undecided on the wing positions. But I think midfield wise, if we can and both of these two players are fit. Obviously, I know Nico is, but it's just a huge question mark on Rodri. I would probably play something that looks a bit like this, but obviously in sort of when we're actually playing, it would look a lot more like this. I'd want to say it would look a lot more like that when we're actually in possession. It would look sort of, because Doku's not really gonna pick up the ball out here all the time like we would have seen him do last season and the season before. He now takes up these sort of pockets inside, and sort of brings the game at the other team, and at the defenders and at the midfield, which I think he's really good at, and you'd obviously get the same obviously with Shirky. But if I just clear that now and just get it back to, could Marmoush play as a shadow striker behind Haaland? He could, right? He could, and we could potentially run something that looks a bit like this. If I just get it back up, we could potentially run something that looks a bit like this. We could run something that looks a bit more like this, right? But my only issue is, well, my main two issues with playing Marmoush in a position that looks like that, right, is his first touch is not great. I'm not a fan of Marmoush's first touch. If I'm being honest, Marmoush's first touch is a bit crazy sometimes, especially in tight positions. So I feel like he'd be giving the ball a lot in a position like this. And don't get me wrong, right? He's got the pace, technical ability, and the shooting, like the shooting range and the ability to shoot from range to be able to play in a position like that. I just think his first touch really does let him down. And also, I feel like if Marmoush is playing here in game, like when we're actually in game, we're gonna look a lot like that. Potentially, like kind of like that a little bit, with obviously Doku sort of drifting in from here and from here, and I just don't know 100% how I think that would how I think that would function, you know. And I'd be open to see Omar play again in that position, but I just don't think we play him in a game like this where we know we 100% have to win. And that's kind of why I'm also against. It's kind of why I'm also against playing Shirky in the middle as well. And I think you'd have to play Foden. It has to be Foden in the middle, whether I like it or not. After his performance against Newcastle, Foden or Bernardo have to play in the middle, and I'm more likely to say Foden because I feel like he'd have more success than Silva. But I also don't think he should be rewarded for his poor performance on Saturday with another start this Saturday, if that makes sense. You know, it's just one of those. It is just one of those. But yeah, if I just get it back up again, it would probably look something along the lines of that. I think is what I'd be very happy if we lined up looking something like that, I think. And then when it comes subs wise, unfortunately I know Savinhos will come off the bench if he doesn't start. And if Savinhos starts, then we could have a huge problem. We could have a huge problem. Because I don't know, because like I just don't want him to get minutes at all, but I know he's more likely to get minutes off the bench than Bob is, because you don't really. It's just a dilemma that we're in right now, where we've only got one good winger at the moment, and that's kind of what frustrates me a lot. We've got one good winger, and I'm talking out and out winger. I know Shirky, Bernardo, and Foden can all play on the wing, but when I'm talking winger, I think we've got three out and out wingers, and only one of them is any good. And I think that's very problematic. And I know everybody bangs on about the one talking point of, City went from having Sterling, Sane, Mahrez out on the wings to having Savinhos and Bob, right? And I think it is a tad harsh on Bob, because like I say, he's missed a lot of football due to injury. Actually, let me just go back big screen again. Was what I was meant to do. Go back big screen, and then move that back down there to just, oh wow, there we are. Go back down there. Go get it back in big screen. But yeah, as I was saying, now we've covered that. It's just like we don't have good enough wingers, and that's even if we sort of didn't loan out Grealish, we still don't have good enough wing options. We have one very good left winger, and that's it. And yes, you can obviously argue that Marmoush can play off the left, right? But Marmoush could only play off the left if he was out on the wing. So that means he would have to play Marmoush, you would have to then take out our best winger out of his best position, which is problematic. And it's just not good enough. It's not good enough for any top team. You even look at Arsenal, right? And look how Arsenal used to really, really struggle to cover for Saka when he wasn't fit, and that's why Saka played so many minutes, because Reece Nelson wasn't good enough. Raheem Sterling on loan definitely was not good enough. And yeah, it's just catastrophic, really, of a position we're in, given especially, like I said, the personnel we used to have. Like the downfall in quality that we have now compared to what we had is shambolic. Because again, if I'm to 2 secs, just go back out of full screen. This is what we're dealing with. This is Savinhos, ladies and gentlemen. This right here. Let's just run that back. Let's just run that back. What is that? What is that? Let's take this step by step, right? So he's running into space, taking the ball forward. He could, before he turns, let's have a little look. Let me actually pause it. 2 seconds. Before he turns, there's still space to attack. There's still very much space to attack. And even if he wants to come inside, I think that was Tillman that was in this position, right? Even if he wants to take this ball and cut inside here, you'd want to back yourself with your pace and your dribbling ability to at least cause him an issue, either running across here or continuing to run down here, right? And even so, you know, there are people obviously running up with him with Foden that he could then try to pick out. But instead, as we see, like, how does he do that? I don't understand how one does something like that. I don't get it. I don't, like, is anybody able to sort of tell me how he's done that? Like, how he's done that? Is anybody able to tell me, like? And again, you know, I don't want to like keep harping on about, you know, trashing Savinhos, because, you know, it feels like I'm beating a dead horse at this point. But look at, oh, my stream name's in the way again. You look at these stats. So you got Sane, 11 goals and 15 assists that season, right? And then goal involvement in 2019. You've got Sterling right there, 2 behind Messi. And you look at the situation we're in now. We look at the situation we're in now. And it's not good enough. It's simply not good enough. Where you look at our top goal scorers, right? You look at our top goal scorers this season. Let's have a little look. You already know what the list is going to look like, right? Let's have a little look. Come on. Erling Haaland, 14 goals. Foden, 1. Diaz, 1. Nunez, 1. One of our wingers has scored. 2 of our forwards have scored this season. Doku and Haaland. And then you move to the Champions League, right? Let's move to the Champions League. Oh, look again. Haaland, 5. Foden, 2. Bernardo, 1. Doku, 1. Shirky, 1. So you're telling me, right, Haaland has 5 goals in the Champions League. He has 19 goals across the Champions League and the Premier League. And the second behind him is Foden with 3. And he's a midfielder. So that means the second attacker behind him is Doku with 2 and Savinho with 1. Oh wait, no, Savinho hasn't even scored in the Champions League. Sorry, my apologies. You've got Haaland with 5, Doku with 1, Haaland with 19, Doku with 2. It's not good. It's not good enough. It simply is just not good enough. And I actually don't know how we kind of... I don't know how we solve this issue we're having, because like it's not a tactical issue we're having. It's not how we're deploying our wingers, as some people would have you believe. The whole Pep kills creative wingers. You should never be a creative winger under Pep. Blah 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 blah. He's just gonna hamper your career. He's just gonna kill your career. That's not the case here, right? We just have winger options, attacking options that right now simply are not good enough. Like as clear as day as you can put it, simply are not good enough right now, right? Will they ever be good enough? Who knows? Who knows, right? Savinho could get to the age of 25 and become a world beater. Same for Oscar Bob. Who knows? But we need to think about the present right now and the near future being next season, the end of this season, right? They're not good enough. Do I think they're going to be good enough by the end of the season? Oscar Bob potentially. Depends if he gets that confidence back in his game. Savinho, certainly not. Savinho written off for the season. He not good enough this season at all. From the countless examples that I've either shown or discussed in videos, it's not improving. He's not doing the basics correctly. He's really good at crossing, and he rarely ever does that because he wants to cut in and shoot when he can't shoot, or run onto the ball, a loose ball in the box, and volley it over the bar, because that's what he'd prefer to do, instead of just doing the one thing he's good at and crossing the ball into Erling Haaland, someone that is 6'4", 6'5", right? No. He just wants to cut in. He just wants to cut in and shoot and put it over the bar because he finds that more exciting. So he's not good enough. But then we can't exactly go out in January, which is literally basically a month away at this point now, and buy new attacking options, because I don't know who. I haven't obviously looked into it thoroughly at the moment, and that's something I will get back to you guys with, so some potential scouting options. But I don't see a winger we're gonna get. We're linked with Savinhos, but you know it's a more sort of appealing offer with Arsenal or Liverpool going for him than if we go in for him, because he's going to look at the players he's playing around him in the attack and he's going to be like, I could play with Isak, Wirtz, Ekitike, Salah, or I could play with Gyökeres, Saka, Madueke, Martinelli, or I could play with Savinho. Savinho alone would make me not want to join up with them, right? Because Savinho wouldn't start every game. You know, you'd be a fool to think he'd start every game. And imagine having to come into a squad when you're already killing it in a Premier League team, but a good Premier League team as well. And then you join Manchester City, and you're benched, and you have to sit there and watch Savinho play ahead of you. You'd be furious. You'd be furious, right? And that aside, we've already spent money to bring Shirky in, who's an attacking option. I just don't think he fits the sort of same role that you'd want Savinho or Bob to play in the team, and that's kind of why I don't really include him in this discussions. So yeah, I just don't get it. We should have just took that 70 million, right? We should have just took that 70 million. And I think what annoys me the most about us not taking that 70 million is the fact that if we did take the 70 million, we would have reinvested it in someone that's 10 times worse. Well, not 10 times worse. That's a bit hyperbolic. I don't think Rodrigo's 10 times worse than Savinho, but we'd be having the exact same issue. So even if we sold him, right, for all of that money, we would have bought somebody in that would have put us in the exact same boat performance-wise. And it would just be absolutely stressful to watch. So, you know, I don't have much sort of hope coming into this game, which is concerning considering we're playing against a newly promoted team that are currently 18th in the Premier League. But given the recent performances from both of our teams, our first team and our B team that we put out, there are very little positives to take out of those games, right? And the positives that I am taking out from it, the only main positive is Doku was creating chances in both games. That's the only positive I can take from both of them. Like, the other positives are, Donnarumma made some important saves, but we lost 2-1 anyway. So the fact that he made important saves doesn't even matter because we still lost. And the important saves he was making were from like lapses in concentration defensively. So that's stuff that shouldn't be happening. It's like it's just kind of it's kind of interesting. But like I don't want to bash the team and say we're in crisis, because we're not in crisis. We know what crisis looks like, and that was last season. So it'd be very disingenuous of me to come on here for clicks and views and say Manchester City are in crisis. We're not in crisis. But if we keep going the way we're going, we could find ourselves in a crisis. I mean, look at Liverpool. They didn't rectify the glaring issues they had in their squad, same way we didn't last season, and they found themselves in crisis. So we need to re-establish ourselves after that Leverkusen game, after that Newcastle game, and think, right, do we want another catastrophic season, another write-off like we had last season, or do we want to get back to winning ways? Because I actually thought, we were in quite good form before that Newcastle game. Some people say we haven't beat any good teams, and all the teams we've lost to have been, the only times we've played good teams. And you know what? You could say that. Villa, a good team, we lose 1-0. Newcastle, not great form-wise, but they're a good team nonetheless, just not in the best form. Going to St. James's Park, we lose that one. Obviously, we beat the champions, but they're, as I've mentioned, they're not in good form at all. The standout big game that we haven't sort of disappointed in is obviously the draw away to Arsenal, but even then we conceded a last-minute equaliser due to a lapse in concentration. You even look at the Manchester derby. Manchester United were in shambolic form at that point, so us beating them was to be expected. So yeah, I do see the point that we haven't won a game that we weren't expected to win, and we've lost all the games that are an actual challenge for us, which is 100% a fair criticism of the team, and that's exactly why we need to just go out and blow Leeds out of the water on Saturday. We can't have any of the wastefulness that we had against Newcastle, and we can't have any of that lack of urgency and complacentness that we had against Leverkusen. We simply cannot have that, or else we're going to find ourselves in a deep hole, right? And then if we even look at the fixtures after we play Leeds, right? We look at the fixtures after we play Leeds. Never mind, they don't want to load again. 2 seconds. I literally had them up earlier and it's now just decided they don't want to load anymore. So give me 2 seconds. We're just going to have to do a quick detour. Right, cool. We're back. So Leeds, we should win that. Fulham, I think we should win that, personally. 3 o'clock kickoff, Sunderland at home. We should win that because we're at home. But, Sunderland are a very good team. They'll cause us difficulties there. This one, you go into the Bernabeu. But again, they're also not in good form. So anything could happen in this game. Selhurst Park, I write that one as off as a loss. It's Selhurst Park. And, these 2 games, obviously this one being a cup game, these 2 games, very difficult just based on the opponents we're playing against. This one has to be a win here. So these 2 have to be wins, right? So if we look at the last games that we have, obviously the last game of November and then all the December fixtures, we have to win this one. 100%. This one, I still believe we have to win it. I don't think Fulham have been that great this season. This one, we have to win it, but will we win it is the question. Because Sunderland will put up a fight, and I could see them doing one over on us at home. Palace, I don't really see us beating Palace, just based on the history of it. I don't see us beating Palace. West Ham, that is a have to win. These two right here have to be won. And then you get into the first game of January. The first 2 games of January, 3 days apart, you go into Sunderland at 8 o'clock on a Thursday. That's got loss written all over it. And then you've got to play on the Sunday, you've got to play Chelsea at home. And Chelsea are currently second in the Premier League, and they've got some very, very exciting players that could cause us issues. So, and then what? You've got Brighton, United. So these 3 here are very troubling games. Very troubling games that could cause us a lot of issues. Same with Palace and same with Sunderland. But we need to be making light work of Leeds on Saturday. I don't think we will. I think we might struggle. We need to be making light work of them. Fulham as well, the exact same. We've got to show that we can beat a competent team by going out and beating Sunderland, because that if we can beat Sunderland, that will actually show that we're semi-serious and we can beat a team that's in good form. Because other than Bournemouth, I think Bournemouth is the only team we've beat where I thought, fair enough, that's actually impressive. That's actually an impressive win. But at the same time, Bournemouth played into our hands, so it's not like we really had to do much in that, if that makes sense, because of the high line that Bournemouth played. So again, Real Madrid, Champions League, anything can happen in that fixture, literally anything. Brentford, Carabao Cup, you just hope we win that. At least try get one bit of silverware this season. We haven't won the Carabao Cup in 3 years now, 4 years. If we can just secure some early silverware, it might spear us on in the hunts for Champions League and FA Cup. The league, I think it is Arsenal's league title now, given the form that we've been in and the form that they've been in. They've just beat the best team in the world, Bayern Munich. So, I think that's probably is their league title at the moment. Obviously, things can change. So, you kind of want to be focusing on the Carabao Cup, on the Champions League, which we clearly weren't doing on Tuesday, which is really annoying, because, again, we saw the predicament that we got in last season when it came to the Champions League, right? We see the fact that we were sat there putting in poor performance after poor performance, and we had to scrape a last minute win against Bruges in the league phase just to make it to the qualifiers for the knockout round, who did we play? Real Madrid, and we lost. Whereas we had ample of opportunity to secure knockout football so much earlier, because the games we had weren't that hard. We had Sporting, who we just rolled over for and let them steamroll us. We had Feyenoord, who we threw a 3-goal lead away to. Obviously, did we throw a 2-goal lead away against Paris Saint-Germain? Was it a 2-goal lead? Were we 2-0 up against Paris Saint-Germain? We threw away a lead against Paris Saint-Germain. We didn't put up a fight at all against Juventus. Do you know what I mean? It just wasn't good enough. And I've seen hints of that in the Monaco game and in the Leverkusen game. Yes, we might beat Villarreal. Yes, we might beat Dortmund. And who else was it we played in the Champions League? We played Villarreal. And Napoli. We beat Napoli as well. But, again, Napoli self-destructed within 10 minutes and got a red card. I think we played quite poor against Villarreal, if I'm being totally honest. And I thought we were good against Dortmund. I obviously do think we were good against Dortmund. Again, Monaco, we just played with a lack of urgency. Haaland got 2 goals, and then we just gave away 2 soft goals, a soft penalty, and obviously the shot from the edge of the box that Teze scored. And that complacency was in our game on Tuesday. And I wouldn't say it was in our game against Newcastle. I just thought we weren't clinical enough in front of goal. And again, that's another killer that we've had even last season as well, and it's last season's habits creeping back in. It's the complacency in matches, the lack of urgency, the arrogance of thinking we're Manchester City, we've won all these trophies, we'll score eventually, we score in every game. That's not the case anymore. It's quite simply is not the case, right? So we have that. And then obviously just the missing of chances and just being very wasteful of our chances. You think of Foden's 2 chances against Newcastle. You think of Haaland's chance against Newcastle. You think of that Vinder's chance against Leverkusen, where he could have passed it either way and then ended up hitting it straight at Flecken. Like, we're being very wasteful. And very complacent in moments where we shouldn't be wasteful and complacent. So, there's many things we need to work on as a collective if we're going to be serious about winning any form of silverware this season, let alone the league title, right? Which is completely out of our hands at the moment, very far away. And the only thing that kind of keeps me sane and positive after these last 2 games is just seeing the collapse of Liverpool. Because it's beautiful to see that, everybody says that we buy league titles and we spend all this money and that's why we're successful, that a team can go and break a Great British transfer record twice in the same window, and it makes their team worse. But I don't believe Arne Slot has long left in that job. I don't think he should be in the job right now to begin with. I think he should have lost it yesterday, but he's still got his job. That's kind of the only shining light in the last 2 weeks, the last week, should I say. In the last week, because we weren't good enough Saturday, we definitely weren't good enough Tuesday, and we just really need to just sort of put that behind us, get back to winning ways, just have everybody laser focused on what they need to do. I don't want to come into this must-win game and I'm seeing Savinho and Bob starting. We need Haaland, we need Doku, we need Foden to be back at his A game. We need Nico Gonzalez just to be Nico Gonzalez. I don't want any experimental backlines. I want the backline that works. I want O'Reilly, Vardio, Diaz, and Kusanov. You could put Nunes in there, but I think defensively we've conceded 4 goals in the last 2 games. We probably better to have Kusanov in there. Donnarumma in goal. I don't want to see Trafford in goal. We just need to go back to basics. Put all the best players in their best positions, the players that work well together, and just go out and get a nice easy win. And I'm not talking about getting a 1-0 win or getting a 2-1 win. It needs to be a comfortable 3-0 win. At least a comfortable 3-0 win. And if it's not a comfortable 3-0 win and it's less than that, just a comfortable performance regardless. I don't want us to get sucked into a close game against Leeds. Again, no disrespect to Leeds, right? But we're a lot better than Leeds, and we need to put in just something that shows some spirit and some fight, because we didn't look particularly bothered on Tuesday. And again, like I said, we were wasteful against Newcastle. We need to see the City team that was playing against Bournemouth, the City team that was playing against Dortmund, the City team that were playing against Liverpool and against Man United, a team that was hungry to score, that kept wanting to score more, ones that were putting in key challenges and interceptions and winning all of their duels, right? That's not what we've got in the last 2 games. And if we're going to stop ourselves going into crisis, we kind of need to sort of put an end to that here. But, you guys can let me know what you think, yeah, because, again, it's all my opinion, really, and I just think that as much as I want to be optimistic for the game, I don't know. Like, there's just something about the last 2 performances and the fact that we've basically fielded 2 different XIs. We basically played the whole squad in those 2 games, and there was no improvement. And that's the worrying part. It wasn't, because so-and-so wasn't playing and so-and-so wasn't playing in that game. Like, the whole squad got a run out between those 2 games, and neither of them were good enough. And that's kind of my main concern. It's a tricky one, man. Like, it's a tricky one. Like, as soon as that lineup came out on Tuesday, you knew we weren't going to win. I said that in the live stream. Like, we weren't going to win as soon as I saw that lineup. And obviously, the Newcastle one, it was just the starters not being good enough. So they need to take this as like a sort of kick up the backside, really, and to kick on, because Pep Guardiola said before the Newcastle game that the season starts now. There's no more international breaks. The season starts now. And we go on to lose 2 in a row in embarrassing fashion. Like, if that's what you mean by the season starts now, and our form just goes off a cliff and we go back to City of last season, then the season can be postponed for all I care. Do you know what I mean? Like, you know, it's just, you know, it's just a very, very strange situation. Like, I just don't understand how our form was so good before the international break, and we were playing good football before the international break, just for us to come back from this international break and we've just lost. We've just went back to City of old. Of like, and I don't mean City of old in a good way. I mean City of last season, City of the start of the season. But yeah, I think that's gonna be all from me today. I don't really have too much else to discuss really. Obviously keep an eye out on Saturday. I'm not gonna be doing a live watch along, but I will be giving my thoughts on the game afterwards in a 5 things we learned video. So obviously, if you're new to the channel and you're still in this live stream, like the stream, subscribe to the channel, and put notifications on so you are alerted every time that I go live or every time I upload a new video. Check out, obviously, let me get it up on the bottom. Check me out on TikTok as well. You know, it's obviously the exact same as my YouTube name, so subscribe to me here. Follow me on TikTok. I do upload exclusive content on TikTok sometimes when I can remember. And yeah,